Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Let me see. 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 Oh, it is a great morning. Let me get all my stuff situated so that I'm not distracted. Oh, y'all, sometimes we have to praise God in the midst of our thoughts. Because my thoughts, but you know what? Let me say this. They come to my mind, but I shouldn't claim them. We shouldn't claim those thoughts that are not from the Lord. And even as I get ready to do this and these things that I do, I am amazed, but not surprised at how often those thoughts desire to trickle in and to settle and to plant seed and to prosper and to take over my brain matter with doubt. And doubt eventually, well, I say doubt comes from fear. And I am having to just remind myself that the Lord is making it happen. The Lord has already done what needed to be done. I may not see it yet, but it's already there. I may not know what's coming next, but it's already done. He's not doing it. It's already done. I just have to walk into that day, that moment. It's going to find me. It's going to hit me. Word is going to be made known. There's going to be revelation. But this morning, again, laying down, I wondered, I said, you know, Lord, I don't know. I don't have a word. I have no idea. But letting this mind go, letting this mind process and just, you know, talking to him about where I am. The different things that I'm noticing, the different things that I'm picking up, that I'm sensing in the spirit. And I'm in this place, and it again, everything, I feel like this is just my Hannah season, or maybe this is a Hannah series, but spiritually, Hannah is very prophetic, and Hannah is a strategy. Hannah is my on God. I have a person that I resonate with in whatever area I'm in, or whatever season I'm in. Sometimes it's multiple people depending on, you know, what I'm taking to the Lord. But right now it continues to be Hannah. But Hannah gets a partner in the scripture today. 1 Samuel gets a partner in 2 Kings today. And a part of this, it's just like, when I think about sowing, it was just the thought process that sowing is releasing something. Sowing, it requires you to let go of something. And when we talk about seed is not just money. Seed could be actual, you know, seed. But in this time of life, I think I shared with a friend this past weekend, the ministries and, you know, the different things that the Lord was having me to. I was released. I had permission to go out and to go ahead and start, which was planting the seed, putting the word out. He says that's the seed of the things that I've had a desire to do, but I didn't quite know when. I didn't quite know how. And I mentioned that last May, I was in this place where the Lord pulled me in and he said, rest. I didn't do anything. I went to the grocery store. I went to work. I took my kids to daycare, you know, school. I picked them up. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything else. I wasn't at church. I wasn't anywhere else. I was only at the places that in that time of life, I really didn't have a choice. I had to go to work to be able to provide. My kids, you know, they were in school, but eventually summer break came. So they were in daycare. But outside of that, Everything else was at home. I was in the house. I was, prayer, different things. But I understood that to be like a sabbatical. I understood that May was the month of, now I know May is like the month of preparation for my life. And so when June came, it was a refreshing. I was back. I was, all these different things. And June, middle of June is when I got my instruction. It was like, you need to leave on a Wednesday. And middle of the week, I want to say maybe like June 10th, June 11th, somewhere around there. And I was thinking back on this, and I remember telling her in the message, I said, last year in June, I was told to leave my earthly job. Here I am at the end of May, and the Lord has released me to do my kingdom work. So now the work that I get to do in the earth, it's the work that the Lord has. I don't have to do work for man, but I get to serve the Lord by serving his people. And she was like, isn't it something how he brings it all the way back around? And I'm telling you, that was a form of sowing. I had to let go of what I was currently in. I had to let go of the current job. I had to let go of what had been my means of income for 10 years. I had to let go of healthcare benefits. Like I had to let go of something that was a sure thing. I knew every single month there was going to be a check coming. I knew every single month there was going to be a direct deposit. And I had also gotten familiar with the thing. I was getting raise after raise after raise. And so I had got accustomed to my lifestyle. I got accustomed that this good morning, I had got accustomed that this is what the Lord had for me. And then all of a sudden I rested when the Lord said rest. And then when I went back after the rest, the Lord says, now I want you to leave it once and for now. The one place that I was allowed to go in my month of rest, which was to work and to take my kids to daycare, the Lord said, now I want you to leave the job. Leaving the job meant you're not going to be able to afford childcare, and you're going to be at home. Pull them kids out, pull yourself out, and then now I want you to trust me. Here I am a year later, in the same month that the Lord told me to rest. This time he says, put your feet to work, get ready, because you're about to walk into everything that you pray for. I wanted to do full-time ministry. I wanted to trust God. But at the same time, I said, but Lord, you have to provide the income. And this is where the message comes today. I've always known that my millionaire status, my wealth, that's what I call it. I don't want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. My wealth is on the inside of me. I've always understood, Ladisha, the books are on the inside of you. The ministry, it's on the inside of you. The work that you're going to do, everything is on the inside of you. And when I was up this morning and it says strike the ground in 2 Kings, where Elisha, when he told the king, he says shoot. First of all, shoot the arrow. First of all, you have to know what direction you're trying to go into. And then after he shot the arrow out the window to the direction of the east, he told him, he said, strike the ground. But Elisha was upset with him because he struck the ground 3 times. He says, you should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times, because then you would have annihilated them. But because you only did it 3 times, basically he says, you didn't strike it enough. He says you didn't, and I'm going to read this over here, 2 Kings 13 and 19. And he says, you should have struck it 5 or 6 times. Then you would have struck down Aram until you had destroyed it. But now you shall strike Aram only 3 times. So today, the word of encouragement that I have, ma'am, when you came here, my door was closed. Please shut it back. Thank you. I'm gonna start making you go use bathroom in your own using in your own bathroom. Thank you. But when he and I'm like, I don't like that, because then they be distracting me. But when he struck the ground, and how that references to us today is, don't limit ourselves, because it's like we're putting limitations on God. And that has been my self-talk. There are so many things that last April, I want to say it was the week before my baby's 8th birthday, but then it was like almost 2 weeks before my book signing in LA. And, or no, I don't know. It was California, whatever. I get them. Yeah, it was LA. But 2 weeks before that, I went to this service and I had this pastor / prophet speak to me, and I wasn't looking for a word when I went in there, but he specifically spoke something that stuck with me, because it was the first time that anybody has ever spoke this into it was the first time and the only time that it's ever been spoken in my life. And he mentioned that there was a business idea that I had, and that the Lord said that he knew I wasn't going to have the means, the financial means to be able to do it, but to start anyway. To go, even though I didn't have what I needed, to do it anyway. And the Lord would make provision. The Lord would make way, that the Lord had it covered. And at the time it didn't make sense, because I was like, okay, I had a savings account. I had been saving because I had some money that come in. And it made me question that, but I believe the fullness of the word. I didn't go pull apart the word, and he mentioned something that has been spoken. He might have been the third one, where he said, but I also hear she's going to be a millionaire. And when I got that word last year, I took that word. And I knew, I said, it's going to come to pass, and it's going to come to pass quickly. Why? Because I was at a point in my life where my mind was made up. I was at a point in my life where I could actually see it. I was at a point in my life where I actually believed the word from the Lord. I didn't understand what was going to happen. I didn't understand what was going to come. And there were so many other different things that he spoke, not knowing that I was already a published author, not knowing, so some of these things, it's like they're already in fruition. But when you get a word, you have no idea how God is going to move on that word. And I share this because I remember laying on my couch weeping, because life was already kind of tight because of the different things that had been put in place before I left my job, to where I was just like, okay, now I don't know anything. I don't know when this stuff is going to hit. The stuff that you told me to do, I don't know when it's going to take place. I don't know when these last and final checks are going to, and I had other stuff planned. I had a trip. I had a conference that I was going to, that there was no refunding, plane tickets. Everything was already set in place. And I'm looking and I'm like, Lord, I said I didn't want to be in this place of lack anymore. I told you I never wanted to feel this again. And then here I am, with what felt like the heaviest weight when it came to finances. And I told him, I'm tired of feeling like there's a cycle of increase, and then you walk me into these things and you say, give this, do this, do this, do this. And then I'm left, and it's like, do you want me to have nothing? But today I understand that it was a setup. Today I understand that was my sowing, and that there is a reaping. Today I understand that the Lord has told me to give these big amounts, at times where I was happy to do it. And then going back later on, I was like, oh, I see what you did there. But I understand that when we sow a seed, the seed knows that its only job is to do what the Lord created for it to do. So we, as the sower, we don't always know how that seed is going to sow, how it's going to reap. We don't know what the harvest is going to look like. We don't even know what season we're going to see the harvest for that particular seed. We don't know if it's going to give 30-fold, if it's going to give 60-fold, if it's going to give 100-fold. We don't know if it's going to create an orchard. The only thing that we are responsible for is putting the seed in the ground. Obedience is a seed. Faith is a seed. Your trust is a seed. your works for the Lord. Those are different kinds of seed. And so as I was thinking about that prophetic word, and I thought about I Am Healing Journey, and I said, Lord, you know, you said that there was a business that I desired, and there were so many different things that, if I be honest, when I got the word, I was so baffled, because I was like, what's the business? What's the business? Like, because it was said as though this was like something that I want, and I'm like, I don't know. I know I've had ideas. And I Am Healing Journey came to the back of my mind that day, laying on my couch when I was weeping, because this was something that I had probably just put like a little tidbit about. I don't know if it was like a year before, 2 years before, maybe 3. And I knew I had the idea, but something was just like, maybe this is not the time. It wasn't the time. And there's been other things that have come to me, and I'm just like, but what do you really, like, what do you really want to do? And if I had to be honest with myself today, this weekend, I had to say, Ladisha, there's a vast thing. You don't want to just do one thing. And see, that's where this strike the ground comes. I got the word and it says there's a business. So I took the word literal. But God is a God of multiplication. God is not a God of just a one-dimensional thing. And in the back of my mind, it's that doubt and that fear that says, what if it's not received? Well, then there comes old rejection. What if it's not received? What if it's not picked up? What if it just sits out there? What if it just this? But guess what? There is no seed that just lies dormant. The only seed that lies dormant is the seed that never gets put in the ground. The only seed that doesn't grow is the seed that doesn't get sown. The only seed that doesn't see some kind of maturity is the seed that's still stuck on the inside of a person, saying, but what if it doesn't work? Okay, but then my question is, but what if it does? What if you let it go? What if you put it in the ground? That idea that you have, what if you just put it out there? What if you just start the process? What if you just release it? What if you don't try to, and I think that's the thing. We want to release something when it's at full maturity. That's not how a seed and sowing works. That's not how sowing and reaping works. You don't plant a fully mature tree. Somebody had to plant the seed. Somebody had to plant a seed when it looked like it was nothing, when it looked like it could have been dead, when it looked like it might not sprout. And so what if you put it in the ground and you never see anything? But at least you know that it wasn't because you held it. At least you know that it wasn't because you let fear and you let doubt kill it. Okay, I'm talking to myself this morning that me giving this word is me trumping the thoughts that have been on my mind to say, Ladisha, if you want to cook, then start the business. If you want to do this, then start this. If you want to do that, start this. If you have the idea, put it out there and put the rest on God. We have to sow. We have to strike. We were not created to be one-dimensional people. But I say that we can't be like King Joash. We can't just strike the ground 2 or 3 times. We gotta keep I say strike it until you ain't got no more blows. Strike it until you don't have anything else to put out there. Who cares what people have to say when you are out living your life, being everything that the Lord intended for you to be? It's not gonna matter. I said, Lord, they said, I was told one thing, but if in 2026, in this month alone, I said, what if I release that there's 4 rooms that are going to be started in the month of June? I said, okay, guess what? I can do hair, but I only want to do certain things. Well, guess what? That's your niche. Put it out there. You want to cook? Baby, start a kitchen. Put it out there. If you want to, and that's the thing. It's whatever it is. And then I believe that even the ministerial things, the things that I'm doing in the kingdom, these rooms that I'm building, I had revelation that that's a seed. I want to walk with people through deliverance. I want to walk with people through healing. I want to be able, like I'm doing these lives, I want to be able to have conversations and create rooms with people. Well, guess what? Me doing this every day, this is me sowing a seed. This is the Lord saying, my works with my faith. Do I believe that I'm going to have many companies? Do I believe that I'm going to have many franchises? Do I believe that I'm going to have many corporations and nonprofits and all of these things? Absolutely. But how does it start? It starts by me breaking off and being the seed. It starts by me getting underground. It starts by me coming on here saying, Lord, I don't know where this is going to carry me. I don't know what this is going to do. That today I may reach one person a day. Today it may be 2 people. It may be 2 to 5 people a week, but I believe that in my future, I will have the ability to reach the thousands and the multitude. Why? Because I will be able to go to today. Today is my present. But in my future, I will look back on today, and today being my past, and saying there was a time where I might have only been speaking to myself. There was a time where I may have only been speaking to one person, but I didn't let that hinder me because I understood that that was my seed. I understood that that was me striking the ground, that my obedience is going to make room for me. My obedience is a gift. My willingness to come do what thus says the Lord, it's a gift. So when I'm releasing that in the month of June, I believe that there could very well be multiplication. Why? Because heaven says she walked away when I told her to. She died to a version of herself. She died to what was familiar. She died to what brought her income. And the Lord is looking at my life. And I believe that there is a day waiting for me, because the day is already prepared. And I'm going to walk into that day. And then there is going to be where he says, my windows of heaven. This is the day, Ladisha, that they're going to pour out a blessing. This is the day that it's about to rain on your house. But it won't rain like a parade. No, it's going to be a rain of blessings. Why? Because I saw you. This is a season of reaping. This is a season because you've sown. But while you're reaping, you better still be sowing, because I go to Amos 9:13 where it's, darn it, I don't know which one of my Bibles I marked it in so that I could read it. But Amos 9:13 says, the time will come, says the Lord, when the grain and grapes will grow faster than they can be harvested. So while you're still harvesting, what you're harvesting, it's going to grow up so fast that almost you're not even going to be able to contain it all. It says, then while that's happening, the terraced vineyards on the hills of Israel will drip with sweet wine. So it's overflow. It's abundance. That when you do what thus says the Lord, when you are willing to strike the ground, when you're willing to sow your seed, some of your seeds are your ideas. What is it that you desire to do? What is it that you desire to be? Put those things in the earth. Put those things in his hand. You cannot see growth if you hold everything. Your seed cannot multiply while it's in your hand. And I know they say, we eat our seed, and it talking about financially, tangibly, I have learned that to be true. When I get off of what I'm supposed to be doing, I like to eat. I like to eat. And when you've been pulled back from some things, when you go back, you indulge heavily. But I've noticed it costs more. It costs me more when I'm doing what the Lord has told me not to do. It costs me more because my appetite is different. So tangibly, I have saw that some of us, if we could have self-control over this, there would be more financial money in the pocket. If I was eating, let me just make it plain. If I was eating the way that I am now a few years ago, I probably could have had some extra money stashed. So I have had to learn that with discipline, we are able to see the blessings of the Lord. With discipline, we may not eat our harvest. With discipline, we may be more cautious of where we're sowing. When we walk with discipline, and with discipline comes with self-control. So in this season of my life, I am understanding, because I want to say this. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about what the people are saying. Let them talk, because while they're talking, they're just helping season your ground. While they're talking, they're just helping. And when I say they're talking, you don't ever have to know what a person is saying. The Lord is listening to everything. And my word tells me that the Lord, he prepares a table before me. It doesn't say he will. It says he does. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You don't have to know who your enemies are. This is my thing. The more enemies you have, the bigger your table. And I'm not saying this to be vicious. I'm not saying this to be cocky. I'm not saying this to be arrogant. I'm saying this because we have to change our mind frame and stop being worried about them. Again, I'm talking to myself. Am I human? Yes. Does things affect me? Yes. Do I have to remind myself, Delisha, you can't think like that. You can't worry about that. That's not your business. Absolutely. I have to have a lot of self-talk because I am a human. I have flesh. I have emotions. And so I say this out loud because when I say it to you, I'm saying it to myself. I have to eat my own words, but I can receive it better when I hear it come out of my mouth. Don't be so worried about whoever the them are. Sometimes the them is your mind. Sometimes the them is the thoughts telling you that somebody is there. There's nobody there. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes your mind is the very enemy that's going against you. Your mind is feeding you these thoughts. Your mind is crippling you. Your mind won't allow for you to go past what you currently are doing. It's not you. It's the enemy. He wants to keep you bound. It's the system that you've been living in. And when you are trying to go after things that maybe nobody in your bloodline has gone after, maybe you've not seen it. I'm somebody, I say, Lord, I've never seen anybody do this. Maybe you are a first time person. Maybe you are a first generation that's going after everything that you believe that the Lord can do in your life. Well, that old system, that bloodline, the traditions and the religion, all the different things that you've come from, those are the things that are going to be your greatest enemy because they don't want you to go past. They don't want you to break into new ground. They don't want you to break into new territory. They don't want you to break into new light. But let me tell you, the only way that you destroy that enemy is if you do it anyway. The only way that you to destroy the thoughts of your mind and fear is do it anyway. Yes, you may be afraid. Do it anyway. Yes, it may fail. But how will you know if it's going to fail or if it's going to succeed if you don't at least try? So I'm coming to be the example to say, you got to cut the stuff off. You just have to cut the stuff off. You are just going to have to go for it and do it. And like I said, this is a word for myself. Strike the ground. Sow the seed. Isaiah 60:22 says, and I love this because I've not heard the beginning of it. It says the smallest family will become 1,000 people and the tiniest group will become a mighty nation. At the right time, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Sow the seed. It may seem small. It may seem insignificant. It may seem like, no, you may not have enough money for the business idea. No, you may not be able to go get a bank loan. You might have to start in your house. You might have to start in your kitchen. You might have to start in your garage. You might have to, somebody may only have a bedroom. You may only have a little piece of a corner. But this is my thing. But do not despise small beginnings. Whatever is in you, trust God. He put it in you. He put that thought in you. He gave you that idea. He gave you that creativity. Maybe you have a niche. You have a certain kind of prayer life. Maybe you know how to read the Bible and get revelation in a way that nobody else is able to do it. I don't care what it is. He did not create us to be on man's system. Maybe, I'm going to say this, one day I'll think I'm going to be able to coach kingdom entrepreneurs. How am I going to do it? I have no idea. I got to walk it out first. I have to see the strategy that the Lord gives me. But this is something that I understand. If I am willing to go through this, guess what I'm doing? My life is a seed. I'm never going to withhold information. I'm not a person who says everybody's got to pay for everything. Why? Because I can't pay for everything. And I believe there is a time and a day of having discernment to say, I'm going to sow into this people. I'm going to help them. I'm going to give them information so that they don't have to try to get it out the mud, so that they don't have to try to fight for something. I'm going to give them this information, because in giving it, what am I doing? I'm sowing another seed. That is sowing. That is reaping. That is a tithe. When I get my first fruits, I'm not just going to tithe financially. I am also going to tithe with my mind. I'm going to tithe with my time to come back and give God's people strategy, to come back and give God's people information. Today, I can tell you, I don't know how I have lived a year and I have not worked, but I know how I've lived a year and I have not gone to man's employment. And the Lord says, step out into the business. Step out into, and I had to learn. Who told you that you were only supposed to do one thing? He says the business that you desire. So every time you get a new thought that comes to your mind and you say, oh, I think I can make money off of that. Oh, I think I can present this to the people. Oh, God, this is something that I want. And this is the thing. I say, this is what I love to do. Now let me go sell it to somebody else. All my life, or for a good portion of my life as a woman, my prayer, I remember I went on a date, and my prayer, I was able to have this conversation with this young man, and he was talking about all these different business ideas and different things that he wanted to do. But I think he was the first person I'd ever talked to. And it was just like the whole time, it was like light bulbs going off in my head, because my response was, that's been my prayer. My prayer was to be a woman to help her husband grow his many businesses. I wasn't worried about having a business of my own. Did I have ideas of stuff that I like to do? Yeah, but I never put myself in the position to be an entrepreneur. I never put myself in the position to be able to start on my own, because I'm so accustomed to helping everybody else. I'm so accustomed to somebody giving me their vision and I can run with it. And then it multiplies in my head and I get all these different ideas. But I had never put myself in the position to grow my own. I just assumed that I would be a helpmate in a business to whoever the Lord brought, that I would be a blessing in his life. But I have had to realize that's not what the Lord sees right now. He's had to show me, Ladisha, I want to bless you through you. I want to bless you. I want to make you prosperous. I'll make you wealthy, that you don't have to do these things for somebody else. You can actually do it for yourself. It has been so hard for me to be as motivated as I know I would be if somebody else had the vision and then they said, hey, I need this, and this. There would be no procrastination whatsoever. So I've had to sit with, it's harder for me to do things for me the way that I've done for everybody else. It's been easier for me to serve everybody else. I could easily serve somebody else's ministry. I could easily be faithful. I could easily show up. And I've noticed that about myself, that I love to be in the background. I love to walk along. And I often joke and say they could just put me in the kitchen, like one of the church mothers. Put me in the kitchen, let me cook, let me clean, let me serve. And they never had to tell anybody that I was back there. That's the position that I have desired in life. I wanted to sing, but I said, put me in the background, because I don't want to lead. I don't want, why? I think I had a fear with that part. It was a fear that I was calling comfort, because I didn't want to be seen. And if I'm not seen and if I'm not at the front, if something happens, I'm more comfortable being in the background to clean it up. I'm more comfortable having to catch people. But what happens when you're at the front? What happens if you fall? Who's there to catch you? What happens if you make a mistake? Who's there to cover you? And I have been so accustomed to covering and catching and cleaning and looking after people, not because they asked me to. That's just quite naturally. Naturally, I know how to care for people. I know how to catch people. I know how to hold people. I know how to do these things. That's what I've done since I was a very little girl. I've saw people, I've looked at people, and I understood yesterday as I was cooking breakfast for my girls. And it was the thought that all my life, I've served people. Now for the rest of my life, I get to serve people. And somebody may not get the contrast between the two. The first one, I was thrown into it. I didn't really feel like I got a choice. I don't even know where the root of it started, which I kind of do, but I don't. That when I did it in the past, it was because of dysfunction. And when I covered people, when I took care of people, I was doing it because I saw the burden that was on somebody else. When I did it as a kid, I did it because, if I be honest, I saw my mama. And as a little girl, I took on responsibilities because I said to me, the only thing that I knew to do was to help take the load off. So I cooked, I cleaned. I was literally a mother by the age of 8 years old. I babysat the neighborhood. When they were, because, when the mamas was going out to the club at night and they was partying, there were times that I would be left home with a house full of kids, babies and all. And, when I would get on Saturday mornings, I cooked breakfast. There was times to where when my mom worked 3 jobs, I cooked. She bought the food, but I made the groceries. She just paid the bill. And it was, so all my life that I can remember, I have raised children. I've cleaned up. I was over laundry. I was creating systems at the age of 8, 9, and 10, saying, hey, I'm going to teach y'all how to wash clothes because I can't keep doing all this by myself. I'm going to teach you how to iron your own clothes because I need a system. So all of these things that I was doing from an early age, it was building leadership. It was building character. It was building responsibility, but it didn't start from a healthy place. So I understand these last few years, the Lord had to pull me back. He had to sit me down. He had to pull the system, the root out. And I had to heal. I had to learn how to receive love and not just pour it out. I had to learn that it was okay for the helper to get help. I had to learn that it was okay for me to say, I can't do this. It's okay for me to get tired. It's okay for me to rest. It's okay for me to say, hey, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I didn't know that I had permission to quit. I didn't know that I had permission to let people go. I didn't know that I had permission. To me, I felt like I was dropping them. For me, I felt like I was hurting somebody, that choosing myself felt like a sin, because in my world, I can't afford to disappoint anybody. I can't afford not to do this, because if I don't do it, who's going to do it? But the Lord had to sit me down. And he had to show me that that's actually not his system. That's not a God-like thing, that his word says to love the Lord your God first, put no one else above him. Well, I had idols. I had gods, in, little g gods in my life. And it was me trying to make sure that I was everything that I could be to everybody. And then he sat me down and he pulled me close and he loved on me. And he began to pour in the buckets that I didn't even know that I had. I didn't know that I desired affection. Let me say that. I didn't know that I desired like human, physical touch. I didn't know that I desired those things until I got to a place to where I looked at my children, and in trying to serve my children and love my children right, I noticed I have kids and part of their love language is physical touch. And I was uncomfortable because I was like, why you want to be all up on me? It was outside of my norm, because growing up, I realized there wasn't a lot of physical touch in my household. There wasn't a lot of cuddles, and, I don't ever remember, and I may have as a smaller child, but from my memory, I don't remember ever going in for hugs or, sitting on the couch and snuggling up, or, putting my feet on different people. I don't remember those things. And so I looked at my kids and I would think to myself, what's wrong with them? And one day it dawned on me, Ladisha, you need that. I had become so desensitized. I had become so hard that I didn't even know that I needed these basic physical things, that physical touch can give life to a person. That I had prayed that whenever I would get married, I said, I need my husband to know when I need a hug. I didn't know the whole time I was praying for intimacy. I was praying for that affection. But I couldn't feel that I needed it. I couldn't feel that I lacked something. I couldn't feel, because that bucket had been empty for so long. And it wasn't until I had my own children that I began to notice, wait a minute, there's things that I need and I can't even sense it anymore. There's things that I need that'll make me more gentle. There are things that'll make me more soft. There are things that'll make me more loving, and that'll make me more kind. But I was so hard and I didn't know it. So it took seeing pure people, babies, in their purest state of form. And my girls began to show me this is what love is. My girls began to show me that this is what the little Ladisha needed. But at the age I couldn't feel it anymore. And when I decided that I was gonna go against my current nature, I was gonna go against what I had built up, and I was gonna intentionally hug my girls when they wake up. I was gonna cuddle with them on the couch. That I was gonna go against what I felt. And eventually it began to open stuff up in me. What was that? That was a seed. Everything that we do is a form of a seed. We may not know it at that time. We may not see it. We may not know what it's going to grow into. But I just say this as a mother. I say this as a parent, that we can sow seed into our children that we don't even know that we need ourselves. And it's going to open the door for us to receive a harvest. Desiring to love my girls right, desiring to love them unconditionally. These are realistic things that I had to notice, that I had conditions on my children. I had not intentionally, but I had conditions because that's all that I knew. And in my time with the Lord of letting him strip me, I had to realize you have to love them like he loves you. Doesn't matter how many times they mess up. Doesn't matter how many times they fail. Doesn't matter how many times you got to say, don't do that, don't do that. Stop, stop, stop. Doesn't matter how many times you get frustrated. Doesn't matter how many times you get angry. Then I had to remind myself, you got to forgive them too. Because if I don't forgive them, then I'm going to have built up resentment. And then that's going to turn into something, and it's going to begin to fester, and I'm going to see it in my house. All of these were seeds in the eyes of the Lord. He saw me striking the ground. He saw me trying to defeat that old system. And I believe that when the Lord sees you doing everything that you know to do, then that's when the supernatural is able to step in from heaven, and he says, okay, let me do the rest. That's the on God. We may only be able to do 30 or 40%, and God knows that all we have is 30 to 40% of the solution. He knows that what we put our hands to is only equivalent to 30, 40. Sometimes it's only 10. Sometimes it's only 1. It doesn't matter. God says, when I see you do what you need to do, when I see you sow the seed, when I see you striking the ground, he says, then I'm going to put my super on your natural. So maybe you did 30, and that's all that it didn't matter what you did. It only equates to 30%. God says, I got the 70. I got the rest. But when he does things, it's Ephesians 3:20. Exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask, think, or imagine. It's overflow. It's overflow. I'll prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. That's overflow. Overflow. What did you do? You did something right to acquire an enemy. You walked with the Lord. You trusted in the Lord. So we can't be upset and talk about haters and all these. No, baby. Let me give you wisdom and knowledge. The more the enemies, the greater the table. And this, I pray different. But my heart is different from when I used to pray it. I don't pray it anymore, but I spoke it already. And I used to tell my mama, and she would laugh because I say the darndest things. And that was the person who got to hear, she got to hear more than I think anybody ever has. And I would tell her, I said, Mama, this is what I see, because I see a lot of things visually. I said the table that the Lord has prepared for us, because she was in that. I said, it's going to be almost like people are going to be eating in bed. And God ain't even going to make them get up out their bed. The table just going to go straight across their bedroom, and it's going to keep on going over to the next house. And she said, what? I said, because you think about it. He says, I'm going to prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. I said, I may never see the enemy, but it's a guarantee they're going to see my table. And I said that, I said, I believe that the enemy is going to have a seat at my table. Why? Like Job. And I'm not going to have a reason. Okay, well, you go in that kitchen. Go get your snack. There's no more strawberries. Okay, I'll be in there in a minute. But that's just my way of believing. So I believe to whatever level you can think on, whatever level you can believe on, that's the level that the Lord is going to do it, but it's going to be exceedingly and abundantly above that. So whatever you got in you, release it. Whatever you got in you, strike the ground. And if anybody has an issue, it's not your business. If anybody has anything to say, it's not your business. If they don't bring it to you, it's not your business. And if they do bring it to you, you tell them to go talk to the Lord. It's not your concern what anybody has to say. And I say this, if I release 12 business ideas this year, hey, if they stick, they stick. If they don't, they don't. But all I got to say is everything. Let me say this to you. Everything that you do is not going to fail. Not everything. Not everything. You gotta, not everything that you do is going to fail. I don't know why I say it like that, but I do. Not everything that you do is going to fail. And I think that's the lie of the enemy. He wants us to believe that won't work, that won't work, that won't work. And it's like, wait a minute, everything I try ain't gonna work? No, baby. Something's gonna stick. Maybe the first one don't, maybe the second one don't. And then let me say this. What we call failure may not even be failure in God's sight. God, I believe sometimes he just wants to see, will you try? Will you sow it? Will you put it out there? And when you put your seed in the ground, don't go dig it back up. I don't care if it takes 6 months before you see that thing bud. The longer that it's underground means the stronger the root system and the deeper the root system. Well, the bigger the roots are, the greater that thing is going to be when it starts to manifest in the earth. Because first it's going to grow in the ground. That's spiritual. And the root, and I say this, things that sprout quickly, sometimes the root system ain't that great. It doesn't mean that it's not a great thing. But what I am saying is sometimes I believe that when things take longer, that just means they're going to be greater when you do see them. Bamboo, for instance, takes 3 years. For 3 years after planting a bamboo seed, you don't see anything above ground because the root system. But after 3 years, once it begins to grow, I think it's every day that it can grow up to 3 feet a day. So for 3 years, it looked dormant. For 3 years, it looked dead. For 3 years, it looked silent. But you know what? The people who planted it, they're not even expecting anything until after year 3. Why? Because they know. Bamboo is very strong, very sturdy, very secure. But that's because of its root system. That's because that's what it was made to do. So maybe it takes longer for yours than it does for others. And when I tell you, I'm talking to myself. And this goes back to Hannah. Hannah gave a vow to give Samuel back before she ever saw anything. Hannah sowed a seed. Hannah sowed her soul. Hannah poured herself out. And so I say, this is my Hannah season. But don't just expect to birth one thing. Expect to birth multiples. This is the year of double. This is the year of multiplication. This is the year where the Lord told me, he says, this is the year of resurrection. Because what did he say? This is the year of increase, promotion, elevation, and resurrection. And I'm throwing on here today, this is the year of double. This is the year where he says, I'm about to make it happen. But that word ain't for everybody. I won't sit here and lie and make it sound like this is a word for, no, this is not an everybody word. This is a word for those that it's for. This is the word for those who have been doing the work behind underground. This is for those who have been walking faithfully. I'm not perfectly. You've been walking faithfully. You've been walking obediently. Maybe you've slipped and tipped and, here and there, but you've been faithful to the Lord. This is the year where the Lord is about to make it happen. So I just say, strike the ground, open your hands, and take inventory of what's inside of you. Somebody may not even know what seed they carry. That was me. I didn't know what the business was. That's because it was multiple businesses and I was trying to limit myself to one. Open your hands. Sit down with the Lord. Turn inwardly and do an inventory of yourself. You might have to first detox. You might have to first drain yourself of the noise. You might have to pull away from other environments because you need to know who you are. Not who you are with them, not who you are for them, not who you are to benefit them. No, you need to know who you are when there is nobody else around. What are you good at? What do you love? What are your natural instincts? What are your giftings? What are the things that if you could do it for the rest of your life, you would never murmur or complain? Those are the things that the Lord wants to do through you. For me, full-time ministry won't look like it does for everybody else. I'm going to get to do what I love because I'm not trying to be anybody else. I want to teach people, well, look at, this is what I'm doing. I want to reach people, well, look at what I'm doing. And it may seem small to somebody else. But for me to be the seed, I said, I'm not right now. I'm not on YouTube. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on all these other things. Right now, I'm in one place. But I know that when the time comes to expand, because I have the groundwork, because I have the foundation, right now, these Facebook Lives, this is my roots getting deep in the ground in this new way of me sowing this seed. And this one place is going to produce a harvest, 30, 60, 90, 100-fold overflow. When am I going to see it? Is it going to be this month? Is it next month? Is it the end of the year? I have no idea. But all I know is when we put something in the ground, the rest of it is on God. We have to trust in the Lord. And the Lord is going to look at our seed and he's going to look at our faithfulness and he's going to look at the works that goes along with our faith. And when we have done all that we can do in the natural, God's going to put his supernatural on it. And that is going to be the exceedingly and abundantly above all we could ask, think, or imagine. So I love y'all. I'm proud of myself because I did this today in about an hour and maybe yesterday too. So happy Tuesday. Strike the ground. Put the seed out there. Whatever the Lord has put in your heart or put in your hand to do, just do it. Just start it. Don't worry about if it fails. Don't worry about if it succeeds. That's on him. It's not on you. Just release it. Because as the word says, whatever you sow, you shall reap. It's a guarantee. So love you. See you tomorrow morning.